Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. Me personally, I tend to share a lot of photos just sort of in real time as I see them. So if I get my film developed and scanned, I'll go through the scans, I'll figure out what photos I really want to share, and then I'll just start shooting again. And it's just sort of an everyday thing. That's really what I share more than anything, is just sort of daily life. And I also don't use Instagram the same way some people might. I don't treat it like it's a portfolio. I really use it as sort of this public journal in a way. There's a lot of photos where I'm trying different things out. I'm just sharing what's on my mind in terms of photography, and as a photographer, I'm testing a lot of different film stocks for this channel, different cameras, and so I'm sharing those kind of things as I go in between basically video to video. So it's sort of this public journal, public diary where you're seeing a little bit behind the scenes of my life, my YouTube channel, just sort of anything and everything. It works for me. I enjoy using it that way. I understand it's not everybody's preferred way to use Instagram. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, that is a whole topic for another day. But with my recent zine, Social Distancing, that just released a couple of days ago, which there's a video up at the top of the screen if you want to check that out, shooting for that was entirely different because I didn't tell anybody about making the photos ahead of time. I didn't tell anybody that I was planning on this thing. I didn't share the photos as I was getting them back. It was a start to finish. I made the project without sharing any of the photos aside from just a couple close friends to get feedback on. It was completely disconnected from the outside world, and I didn't have any kind of influence or criticism or feedback or anything like that as I was actually shooting and putting this whole thing together, and it was a really different experience for me. So much of the time I am sharing photos as I go. Like I said, I share things pretty much in real time as I get the photos back and see them for the first time myself. Very rarely am I sitting on photos that I'm not going to share for a while. If I haven't shared a photo, it's usually just because I don't intend to share it anyway. So for something like this, where I had a bunch of photos that nobody had seen and I was making decisions on which photo was good enough to put in the zine, which photos paired nicely with others, it was all based on my own internal feelings and thoughts on the photos rather than, what photo got the most attention from Instagram and what photo people really brought up and said, oh, this is the best one out of this whole series. I didn't have any kind of that outside influence when I was laying everything out and putting this all together. And that was really, really refreshing for me. There is no guidebook on what's the right way to do this kind of thing. We're all kind of figuring it out as we go. And all the publications I've made in the past have all basically been a collection of photos that I had shot without the intention of publishing anything. Without Reason was my first zine that I did, where I was basically just sharing a bunch of photos that I made that summer, and there was no reason. I just wanted to share the photos. I wanted to print something for the first time. A friend of mine was all about Chillicothe. I'd been shooting photos of Chillicothe for years, and I had all of these photos, and I'd shared all of them in real time as I was making them, but it wasn't until a few years of that I realized I wanted to actually do something and publish the photos and share them. Little Mountains was a little zine I did on instant film that I shot up in the mountains and just kind of on different trips, and all of these different publications were all made with photos that I had already previously shared. Nobody was opening up this publication for the first time and seeing photos that they had never seen before. And so for this, it was entirely different because I had a group of photos that I put together and I wanted to release it, and I didn't have a way to gauge what people thought of the photos before I decided to put them in here. And I was shooting with the publication in mind, so that definitely affected how I was shooting the photos. If I saw something that I thought, oh, that might pair well with another photo I'd previously shot, I was kind of in that space the entire time I was working on this. So it definitely changed how I shot the photos, but more importantly, it really changed how I viewed the photos and really what they meant. I felt how I felt about these photos and how these photos felt together, and that's all I went off of. I wasn't taking in all the feedback from people on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube. I didn't have any kind of outside influence of somebody saying, well, maybe you should try shooting it this way, or I don't know, that photo doesn't really feel like it fits. It all feels right to me. The finished product to me feels right. And other people, they might see this and disagree with that, but that's okay. In other situations, I could see myself getting a comment like that or getting a message like that and really taking it to heart and completely changing how I really felt about it. And I don't know that that's always the right way. Feedback and critique, all of that is healthy, it's great, it's really an important part of this process, but I feel like it's a fine line because I don't think feedback and critique should really dictate how you shoot and what you shoot. I think you should really strive to find and use your voice and what it is that maybe your style is. And that should always be something that you can continuously be improving on. It's something that can always be evolving. But some of these photos really felt like my work from years ago, just sort of as an evolution of it. Maybe it's just that I was shooting HP5 in my M6 and an FM2 that really brought me back to years ago, but As soon as I realized that, it really just gave me like this kind of freeing feeling. It really just felt like me. It was like I had gained back a ton of this freedom to really just shoot however I want to shoot, and I don't have to worry so much about taking in constant feedback and comments. And it's really made me think a lot about my work in recent years and how much of it was influenced just by social media, by an audience. I'm very thankful for that, obviously, but it's definitely made me reconsider how I use the platforms and what works best and how much I should take in those comments and that feedback in real time. This whole exercise really made me feel like I was getting a little bit closer to finding out what my actual vision or my style really is. Again, I think that's something that's always going to be evolving, but there was something about this combination of maybe it was the cameras and the film and the subject matter or the composition. I do think that compositionally I changed things up. Some of it felt familiar, but I also feel like I was trying things a little differently. It really did feel like it was just what I felt like shooting and how I felt like shooting. And that was a really, really freeing feeling and really inspiring feeling, and it's something I really want to chase moving forward. This kind of stuff makes a big difference to me. I don't know if it's just because I'm used to talking about my photography for a living and I do this sort of thing where I talk to a camera and I share it all and people are free to jump on and comment and say whatever they want, and that's not the most common thing. Obviously, there are far more people that aren't doing this than there are that are doing it, if that made any sense. But it's almost been 6 years that I've been here on YouTube talking about photography and sharing photos and sharing a lot about my process. And I love it and I'm very thankful for it, but it is making me wonder if I should be a little bit more tactical in my approach in terms of how I share the photos, what I share, just rather than being so carefree and sharing everything as it happens. I'm really glad I decided to work on this project though, because not only being able to give back to the community with all the funds raised from it, but just as a photographer and giving myself this exercise to practice and try something different and really try to get a little bit closer to finding what my actual style really is, because I think that's something we all strive for, but it's really hard to pinpoint. I love photography. I love so many different kinds of photography, and it's like a kid in a candy store. I see so many different things, and I'm like, what really speaks to me? What can I actually like use my voice and my vision, and where does that really fit in all of this? That kind of stuff to me is just fascinating. So I could talk about this all day. I've probably talked plenty enough. Hopefully this made sense to you guys. If it did, definitely let me know in the comments down below. Really curious to hear what your thoughts are on the zine and just this idea of holding onto your work before you actually share it. So I hope that all made sense, but before we wrap up, I want to take a minute to pay some bills and thank our sponsor today, which is Squarespace. If you're a photographer, having a website is essential, and I've been using Squarespace for years, way before they ever decided to sponsor this channel, but they really are the best all-in-one platform to build a great-looking website. They have tons of templates to choose from. It's super easy to customize and really kind of make it your own so it doesn't just feel like everybody else's. And if you ever do have any questions, they have award-winning 24/7 customer service that is always ready to help. If you have any products you want to sell on your website, their built-in commerce features are great. I personally sell all of my merch directly through my website, and it's a breeze. So if you want to try Squarespace out, you can do so entirely free at squarespace.com. But if you want to get signed up, I can save you 10% off your first purchase by going to squarespace.com/MattDay. So that is going to do it for this video. Again, I hope all of that made sense. I hope it made you think just about your own photography. I'm really curious to hear your own thoughts, how you guys share your photos as you're making them. Do you share them all the time? Are you mostly keeping things kind of to yourself and only share a select few? I'd really be curious to hear what you guys have to say, as well as what you enjoy from me sharing. Do you enjoy the kind of carefree nature that I share on Instagram, where everything is kind of all over the place, or would you prefer it to be treated more like a portfolio? I'm curious. I don't know that I'm going to change exactly how I do it, but I am curious just to hear what you guys think from an outside perspective. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. We have new videos every Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But that's it for today. So thank you guys for everything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.